late?
Yeah.
Okay, we are streaming right now. Hi, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat. This is our pre-show. We were having some Skype issues. Skype happens. And we are about ready to start. So shall we count down?
Yes.
Okay, so...
2.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat, where talk is knowledge. And today we've got lots of knowledge to share. I am joined today by our co-host, Linda Joy. And like I always say, Linda means pretty in Spanish. And Joy, she's a joy to work with, a real pleasure. How are you today, Linda?
It's great to be here.
Well,
great to be here.
Oh, good. We are doing a show today highlighting a little bit of the TLDC, the Learning Development, the Training, Learning, and Development Conference, which is going to be held October 3rd through 5th at the Mission Bay Hyatt in San Diego. It should be lovely out there. And it's only about a week and a half away, so if you haven't registered yet, go. It'll be fun. It should be a good time. We're going to be there, and our guests are going to be there. Let's start with our intro, and then we'll get right to it. And we are back, and today we are joined by two people who are doing something very interesting for the TLDC, and we'll let them talk about that. But we've got with us today, if we can switch to our foreshot, we've got with us Jennifer LeBrett. She is coming today from Seattle, but she's out of Northern California, and also Margie Meacham, who is in the Phoenix area. And hi, how are you two doing today?
Hi, doing great.
Thank you.
Well, you guys are doing something very interesting at the Training, Learning, and Development Conference, which is pretty fascinating. You want to talk a little bit about yourselves a little bit? Why don't we have each of you introduce yourself? Jennifer, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Sure, yes. Hi, I'm Jennifer LeBrett, and my company is Be Well Network. And the idea of Be Well Network is to bring together professionals, practitioners, coaches, and consultants fostering greater human well-being in the workplace. So that's me and my company, and I'm happy to be here and talk to you about the Reflection Center and the concept behind that for the Training and Learning Development Conference.
That's interesting. And Margie?
Hi, everybody. I'm Margie Meacham, and I am the founder and chief freedom officer of Learning to Go. And what we do is we help people and organizations apply what's coming out of the neurosciences into practical things you can do to enhance learning and performance. And like Jennifer, I'm really thrilled to be a part of TLDC, particularly the Reflection Center, because it gives us a chance to do exactly that, to apply neuroscience to a part of your learning, and we'll get into that in a minute.
That sounds good. Well, how'd you come up with the concept? Whoever won, let's see. Jennifer, how about we'll start with you on this one. How'd you guys come up with the concept of the Reflection Center?
Well, actually, the concept first started with Luis, the conference producer of the Training, Learning, and Development Conference. And he and I have a mutual colleague, and we were sharing our ideas about, reflection and learning and my company around fostering well-being in the workplace, and not just wellness, but actually well-being, and what is involved in creating a workforce that is engaged around not just their health, their physical health, but also how to bring greater awareness, attention, and focus, and how that makes you more productive and productive at work, and also helps to enhance the workplace culture and the relationships. So when we were talking, he had shared with me his idea, and noticing that at conferences, there is so much stimulation and not a lot of time for really reflection and learning. And so we started a conversation like that, and just sharing our ideas and our similar philosophies. And that's how we came up with the Reflection Center. He felt that this audience, the professional trainers and corporate learning professionals, would really appreciate a conference where there was an intentionally designed space for and activities and practices introduced to them so that they could deepen their learning at the conference by, reflective journaling, whether it's meditation or getting outside and enjoying the beautiful surroundings of the facility at the Hyatt Mission Bay. So that's initially how the concept got started. And together with my journaling practice and some other activities that we've come up with, I've been introduced to Margie, and she is able to bring from her professional background in neuroscience and learning how that enhances learning. So that's why we make a great pair to bring this conference together and create a space for the reflection and connection that we hope everyone will enjoy at the conference.
That's great. Margie, you want to add to that?
So, sure. I think what a lot of people, we were actually talking about this, Rick, right before we got started, that there's a lot of attention right now on what's coming out of neuroscience. And I've actually been tracking on this subject for about the past 12 years. But I've noticed that there's a lot of people who are sort of misapplying neuroscience all over the place to things that aren't necessarily neuroscience, and then they're misunderstanding some things, and then we're getting interesting results from, say, a study of a fish's brain, and we're wondering, well, what does that tell us about the human brain? So there's a real need for people who translate and pull it together, and keeping it simple is one of the things we hope to do with this. We've actually known about reflection and the value in learning long before we were able to look inside our brains and see what they do. And that's just because a good educational psychologist was observing how people learn, and that's John Dewey. In fact, both Jennifer and I came up with the same quote when we were talking about the Reflection Center independently, which shows you that we really are a perfect fit to do this together. We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. And this has just been validated by watching how the brain puts learning together. It's constantly rewiring itself and forming new connections and getting rid of old ones that you're not using. And so when you're experiencing something, especially like a conference where it's just a flood of information, you're firing a lot of neurons, your brain's excited, and you get all these ideas, but they're held in short-term memory unless you do something intentional about them, which is why you come back and you're exhausted, and by the time you look at your notes and you start flipping through those business cards, nothing really means anything anymore. You've lost the momentum, and your brain has truly lost those ideas, which is, is really tragic when you think about the money and the time you spent. So we don't want that to happen in this conference. That's why the Reflection Center will teach you, we'll be there, and we'll both be leading activities to tell you how your brain works and how to tell your brain, hey, this is important. I want to remember this, and how you can connect it to things you already know, because those are all part of the reflection process that rewire new information into old information.
Well, it's a great idea because we don't spend much time at all in our busy little worlds, just like you said, reflecting, sitting even 10 minutes a day and just turning it all off, thinking about things, or letting your brain just relax. No, we just keep going and going and going and going. And of course, the other thing, like you were saying, the brain also grooves pretty quickly on certain things, and it'll groove on the excitation of the show, but not exactly what they're going through. So it's really fascinating and great research. I was talking to a friend of mine recently. I asked him, "Do you like going to trade shows?" He goes, "Yeah, it makes me feel like a monkey on crack." And I went, "That's why when you said, everybody's excited," I go, "That's a perfect way to put it." And I was thinking, what would a monkey on crack? Oh, that's not even a concept I want to go to. But it was just a hilarious way to put it. But would you say that people really in society today, on the whole, don't reflect much at all?
I would say so, yeah. And that's where the conference team really wanted to be mindful about taking and doing an unconference. Instead of being that monkey on crack, we want people to actually stop, reflect, connect, take what they're learning, have a conversation with someone at the conference, a deep, intimate conversation. And so we've created space within the cabana. In the Reflection Center, there'll be cabanas, there'll be office hours for some of our speakers where conference goers can connect. If they hear one of the speakers and they want to connect with them, they can visit them at the cabana for office hours where they can have, a one-on-one or a 2 or 3 person intimate conversation about the conversation or about the conference content that the speaker had delivered. And also to start off each morning with from 7 to 7:45, we'll have a reflective practice where there'll be a guided journaling and meditation, where you can set your intention of what you want to learn and take away from the day, and then also bring awareness to, what is it that might get in the way of me actually doing, what I set out to do this morning, and then leave that journal practice with an action affirmation to help keep focused on, today I want to meet 3 people and talk to them about this, or, whatever it might be, or I'm particularly interested in one speaker at the conference. I want to connect with that speaker afterwards at their office hours because I'm interested in this particular topic that they're talking about, and I want to learn more in depth. So just having time also to pause and reflect and get out of your head and sink more into your body and actually connect with the material that's being delivered at the conference on a felt body level and not just on a thinking level. So, and that's where Margie could speak more to that and the neuroscience behind that.
No, I love that.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'd like to jump in and just add to that. When you talk about experiencing the conference through your body, I like to say that your brain is actually distributed throughout your body, because we have this artificial concept of your brain sitting inside your skull. But it's connected through your spinal cord and your nervous system to every single part of your body, and it's connected with neurons, with the same cells that are inside the brain. It's really just, your body is one big brain wrapped around other tissues, or rather I should say other tissues and structures are wrapped around it. And so you do have a learning experience in your fingertips and in your body. And it's tapping into that and understanding it that can really deepen the experience. And not only that, it makes you more likely to remember, because the more parts of your brain you can engage in a single learning experience, the more pathways you have to that information. So the easier it is to retrieve it later, and the more connections you make to other things. So it's all part of recognizing that learning isn't this linear path. It's more of a, like dropping a pebble in a pond and the ripples. Your brain is reaching out for all the information it can find on something. So let's say you had a conversation about mobile learning at the conference. As soon as you start to become aware that you want more information on that, your brain's going to start to find those things. It's going to direct you to an interest in the right people and the right sessions, but it starts with that intention, those morning intention sessions that Jennifer's talking about. Another thing I like to say is that intention drives attention. So you choose what you pay attention to, or else you are that monkey on crack just kind of bouncing around. And whatever banana you see next is the one you run to, instead of being very strategic about how do you make the best use of your time.
Kind of, especially at a trade show, it's like lights, pretty, and the lights draw you. And unfortunately, that may not be where you want to be drawn to, but it's the one making the most noise gets your attention.
And it's really great that through the Reflection Center, the training and learning professionals themselves are helped to deepen their conference experience and their learning experience.
Yeah, it's nice to think, Linda, isn't it, that as learning professionals, we're actually applying what we know about learning to our own conference? It's kind of actually a revolutionary idea. It hasn't happened much.
No, that's including emotion in learning. There's so little emotion in learning, and they're not taking advantage of it. And that's another problem. That's, we tend to have e-learning or training that's lawyer-run. Everybody's worried about what they say, how they do it, what law are you breaking, or what group are you offending, or whatever. So emotion, which could be extremely powerful, again, from a mental and physical point of view, is never utilized.
And your brain always has an emotional reaction to the learning. It's just whether or not it's the reaction you would want.
Right.
So the lawyerly stuff, we often have the reaction of boredom or frustration
Right.
with it, where we could be much more energized by maybe a compelling story about a customer or something like that. But people are afraid of emotion, and that's one of the things that we're trying to change as well. Is it's part of life, it's part of your brain's life, and it has to be a part of learning as well.
That's great.
Yeah, one of the key takeaways we really want listeners and viewers to leave today in knowing about the Training, Learning, and Development Conference and the Reflection Center and this concept of reflection and connection for deeper learning is that the idea is really to show some examples of here's what reflection looks like, here's why it's beneficial to enhancing your learning, and here's a designated space where you can start to experiment with some of these suggested ideas and concepts that have been introduced to you. So
it's a wonderful idea, because how many times I've been to thousands of trade shows, literally, and most of them are pretty much just run from one place to another. You rarely have time to talk to anybody. Either they do that or they go off-site and talk a little bit, but talking to a speaker, you get 1 or 2 minutes after a session, and everybody's running to the next session. And so it becomes this crazy running, trying to get to everything, and people aren't necessarily enjoying that. They're moving with it, but enjoyment, I don't usually get from a trade show, gee, that was the best thing I've ever done, or that was so great, or I learned so much. Usually it was fun. So yeah, the party afterwards was great, and you just go.
How much learning is really taking place, know? And with learning professionals, we think this is something that they'll really grasp onto and run with.
It's funny. I've recommended this to a couple of other groups that do shows. They said, what would you like to do a session? I said, I'd like to do a session where I just stand up and answer questions. And they go, but they're not going to learn anything. I go, they'll learn a lot more than if I give a talk. I can maybe guide a talk, but let's talk together. Because that way everybody brings out their problems, brings out what they're trying to learn, what they're not trying to learn, what their issues are. Let's talk about it. Let's see it from a project management point of view, from a development point of view, from an acceptance point of view later on by the users. How do you get all of that moving? And I think that would be more fun, because then people can get, quote unquote, anybody who's got a lot of experience and use that. And that, to me, is more valuable than sitting for 40 minutes listening to something you already know.
They're engaging with their learning then, And they're co-creating, they're participating, they're being part of the content,
Yeah, and you're just kind of facilitating them to get their own answers that they probably know but aren't aware of.
By giving them the possibility of stepping back.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what makes it. It's that you have to have that little bit of space for these kind of things to happen. And in fact, one of the things that I know Jennifer does in her business is she teaches executives how to journal, because, if you're a leader, you're learning every day. So it's not just when you're in a learning experience that you should be reflecting. And I think you said this earlier, Rick, it's every single day. It's a powerful tool for your own self-development. If you look at the history of most great leaders, they keep journals, and they've just intuitively known that it works, and now we have the science behind it to say why.
It reinforces.
Yeah, and you will be teaching different techniques, and the learning professionals can just try different techniques out with you there to guide them.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, one of the things that is really cool that I'll be sharing is the Feynman technique, and it was invented by the great physicist Feynman, who had a lot to do with the NASA space program, and he had a way of reflecting a little system, and it's 5 questions, and it's extremely powerful. And I know, Jennifer, you have quite a few techniques as well that you want to share.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to visiting with everyone at the Reflection Center and in the Cabana space.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Well, I am
Very
so
productive.
glad you guys could make it on today, and we look forward to seeing you at the show.
Yeah.
And again, that is the TLDC conference, the Learning Development Conference, which will be in San Diego at the Mission Bay Hyatt, October 3rd through the 5th. It's going to be a lot of fun. It won't be a huge conference. I think there's about 400 or 500 people, but that's large enough. But it's not a massive conference. You'll have a lot more personal time. You'll have more reflecting time, which is actually important.
That's right. That's right.
So we definitely look forward to seeing you there. We look really forward to seeing both you, Jennifer, and Margie at the conference. We'll be searching you out. Trust us.
Yes,
and we'll be
we will
filming and taking
as well.
pictures and meeting a lot of the people there. So definitely, maybe while we're there, we can do a little bit more interviewing. Maybe some of what you saw as results of the reflection.
Yeah, we'd love to.
I think that'd be a
Yeah,
lot of fun to see how you
absolutely.
perceived it and how you thought it worked, how well it went off, and the kind of feedback that you're getting.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
So, no, it's a very unique thing that they're doing, and I think it's actually a great thing. It should be really good for everybody, and you two have come up with a great concept as far as making this happen. So we look forward to seeing you there. If you want to meet Margie and Jennifer in person, come to the show. Or we'll also put in the show notes how you can get in touch with both of them and their company names and URLs so that you can go and take a look at what they do. Well, I thank both of you for showing up, and Linda, as always, a pleasure.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
we will see you all next week on eLearnChat. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.
Great
Bye-bye.
having
Great.
you on the
Thank
show.
you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.